Well, to start off with, do you mind telling me who you are and what you do?
Sure, I'm Rina Onur, one of the co-founders of Peak Games, which is a regional gaming company based in Istanbul, focusing on Turkish and Arabic-speaking market.
And I did research that, and I knew that in advance. So I find it quite interesting that I'm meeting you here in Berlin. What are you actually doing here?
Well, we're huge believers in the Berlin startup scene, first of all. And actually, one of our largest investors, Early Bird, they're based here as well. So I always seize an opportunity to come see what's happening in the Berlin startup ecosystem, especially gaming. But other than that, you're right. This is not our home market, so it's kind of not very relevant as other gaming companies. But just to be here and see what other gaming companies are up to in technology-wise and game genre-wise, it's always good to check it out.
On that note, how do you think that social games differ, say, in Western Europe to your region, the MENA region?
I think people are just looking for different things. Just as the gaming ecosystem is extremely different in Japanese or Chinese markets than it is from the Western Europe or North America, it's I think very different in Turkish and Arabic-speaking market as well, because the types of lives that people lead are different. Religion is different, social demographic is different, disposable income is different. So in return, what people consider or look for in accessible entertainment differs significantly, and I think that manifests itself in gaming as well.
And do really popular games like, say, Farmville or Angry Birds, do they work in your markets as well?
They do, absolutely. If you look at it, I think you're going to see a lot of their user base and revenues is also coming from Turkish and Arabic-speaking market. But I think what we focus on in creating only culturally relevant content is that with these other types of games that you might have mentioned, I think they're more like hit-driven businesses and trends. There are only very few franchises that have had longevity over years and have had user base grown or revenue grown over the years. But the types of games that we focus on doing are not games that we kind of created. Those games have existed in the offline world for years. We don't take a lot of creative risk, but take the games that have been part of people's lives to Facebook or iOS and Android. For that purpose and for that reason, actually, people stick around for our games for years, basically.
And do you have any major competitors in your area?
I think it's, safe to say that we're by far the largest local competitor, and in terms of user base, we're about 8 to 9 times larger than our closest international competitor, because we have over 12 million daily active users on different platforms. And when you look at the other international bigger gaming companies, yes, they do have a lot of users from all over the world, but only a smaller subset of that is coming from Turkish and Arabic speaking market. So we have a good hold of our region.
How did you come up with the idea to launch Peak Games?
The 3 co-founders, we're avid gamers, and we've been playing games, since our childhood, and we realized how big of a market this was and how underserved. There are 400 million people living in Turkey and MENA combined. It's a mini China, and a lot of credit cards lying around, average age of 26, which is an incredibly nice gaming market, and I think it was under the radar because people were just so focused on English-speaking, German-speaking, French-speaking markets and the East Asian markets. So when we realized that there was such an opening, we just decided to enter the market and provide the content that we knew we were going to do well here.
And what do you think is the most important feature when you're creating a game?
Well, we always have the region in mind, and we're always looking for that right content that's going to fit our region, and it all starts from there. And once we have the idea, we go into prototyping on tablets, on phones, on Facebook, and we always launch cross-platform. So we're always looking for a native and smooth playing experience, but it all starts with the content picking. So we're not picking the next trend off the charts. We're not making a farm game or a city game. We're making the games that we know are specific and special to our region.
And just to go back to what you mentioned before, the funds that you raised, how did you go about raising that? Because you've raised 19 million so far.
Actually raised close to 30 million. So we have a Belgian fund called Hummingbird, we have a German fund called Early Bird, and we have a strategic investor from the Middle East. And I think we were very fortunate because when we were starting out, Turkey was getting on the radar of a lot of VCs as a rapid growth, young country that had a lot of potential, and especially startup and internet startup system. So when we first started and actually grew really rapidly in user base, I think we got on a lot of VCs' radar. And it was, I think a relatively easier experience for us, which was an incredible blessing, because not only with the funds, but our VCs, our partners have helped us immensely in also shaping our strategy of going into the Middle East and have supported us since inception.
And you've obviously grown a lot since inception. How did you make that transition from a startup to like more than 100 staff and in different markets?
Well, it was very, very difficult because none of the co-founders had that kind of an experience in our past. Like, we've never scaled a company so fast. This was my first startup experience. So it was very, very difficult for us to manage that. But I think at some point we realized that we have to hire people who are much better than us in a lot of the things that this company needs to do.
Okay, and is there any kind of company that you look up to as a role model?
Of course, you know, we like Apple, we like Google, Dropbox, you know, just a lot of high-tech, innovative companies, mostly based in San Francisco region, but recently also in Europe, that are there just to disrupt some things and grow the ecosystem alongside with their companies. So I think that's what we're aspiring to do in the Turkey and MENA region as well.
Okay, great. Thanks for talking to me, and I really hope you enjoy the next 5 minutes you have at TechCrunch.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time.